Today I'm going to answer the question that I get from time to time because I am always recommending OLED Motion Pro High on this LG C1. People ask me, hey, have you ever considered the idea of using medium so it looks brighter? Okay? And the answer is, of course. I've considered everything. I absolutely love these features here. And LG, unfortunately, removed these features on the C2, C3, and it seems like this is not coming back. They are just cheaping out to make more money. That's it. Don't tell me any other justification that, because they want to increase the pixel aperture ratio to get more brightness, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe so. This is just them cheaping out, removing the hardware necessary to get this working to make more money, because most people don't know enough about this to care. Okay, as soon as you understand motion clarity, the Blur Buster's law, as soon as you test this, you cannot turn it off. Okay, this is so good. But that's beside the point. Let me answer the question why I never use medium. And that doesn't mean I don't recommend it. You can try it. I've tried it myself. But why I don't believe this is a great option. Okay? Is there any case, a scenario where medium is a good option, basically, a better option than high? Let's talk about it. Right now I have 60 Hertz, 60 frames per second, OLED Motion Pro Medium, which doesn't work, okay? OLED Motion Pro Medium, low, auto, they only work at 100 frames per second, 100 Hertz output on the TV, or 120 FPS, 120 Hertz output on the TV. You need a locked frame rate, no drops, okay? Perfectly locked frame rate. So what happens when you have 60 Hertz on the TV, 60 FPS, and you use medium is that the TV is really at 240 Hertz doing PWM, okay? And because of that, the TV is flashing, is refreshing each frame 2 times. So when you move the camera, you get double images. That doesn't improve the motion clarity. But what I am going to share with you, what I'm going to show you here, is a brightness comparison. So basically, in terms of the brightness, it doesn't make any difference if I have 120 Hertz, 120 FPS, OLED Motion Pro Medium, that if I have 60 Hertz, it's going to be the same brightness output. Okay, so what I'm going to use this 60 Hertz, 60 FPS output to show you the difference between high and medium. Okay, take a look at the details here on the clouds. You can see everything because I set up my camera settings. I lower the exposure, the ISO of my camera, so you can clearly see the details here on the cloud with medium. Okay, but now if I use high, it is brighter and you are losing the details here on the cloud. They are clipping because it is brighter. So high is brighter than medium at 60 FPS, 60 Hertz. So now what that means is, let me explain you. What that means is that in order for me to use medium, I need 100 FPS, okay? At least 100 FPS locked, or 120. So now how good in motion looks medium when I have 100 Hertz, 100 FPS? It looks exactly the same as 200 Hertz, 200 FPS, okay? So it gives you that persistence. That's 5 milliseconds of persistence equal to 5 pixels of motion blur when moving at 1000 pixels per second, okay? 5 milliseconds of persistence when we have 100 FPS, 100 Hertz, OLED Motion Pro Medium, okay? So it looks like 200, okay? Now, how good 60 FPS, 60 Hertz looks with OLED Motion Pro High? it looks like 158 FPS, okay? Because OLED Motion Pro High improves the motion clarity in 2.6x. Okay, so medium improves the motion clarity in 2x. OLED Motion Pro High improves the motion clarity in 2.6x. So if you compare the picture quality that you get at 100 FPS, 100 Hertz with OLED Motion Pro Medium with 60 FPS, 60 Hertz with OLED Motion Pro High, yes, the motion clarity is slightly better. The difference is from 158 to 200, so that difference is not big. It's better, but it's not significant enough. And now the picture looks dimmer, okay? And on top of that, you need to reduce the graphic fidelity on the game to achieve that level of performance. That's the other consideration. For example, in this game, in order for me to get 100 FPS, I need to use DLSS performance, okay? But now if I only have to get 60, I can use DLSS quality, okay? So the picture quality is going to look better, sharper, and the motion clarity with 100 FPS, 100 Hertz, OLED Motion Pro Medium is gonna be almost the same. So almost the same motion clarity, and you get less fidelity than 60. Now, the biggest difference and the biggest advantage in that comparison is that medium doesn't flicker, okay? It flickers, but I cannot see it at all. I cannot perceive any flickering whatsoever when I use OLED Motion Pro Medium, okay? So now the flickering perception depends on the person, but I bet that the majority of people are not gonna be able to see flickering when using OLED Motion Pro Medium, just because, you know, that it's just not very likely, in my opinion. But yeah, you might be able to still see flickering with medium. I don't believe it's very unlikely. Okay, I cannot say for sure because the Blurbusters chief, he told me that depends on the person, and we cannot say for sure. There's no way you can see flickering with this threshold or whatever, so I cannot say it. But I strongly believe that using OLED Motion Pro Medium at 100 FPS, 100 Hertz, you're not gonna be able to see any flickering, okay? So I would use high, because high is going to improve the motion clarity in 2.6x. So 100 FPS, 100 Hertz is going to look like 263 FPS based on my testing, okay? That's why. So if I'm going to get a dimmer picture and less fidelity because I have to lower the in-game graphics, I have to go all in. I have to go with high, okay? So that's why. So now, if you use, what about OLED Motion Pro Medium if you use 120 FPS, 120 Hertz, OLED Motion Pro Medium? What about that? Again, let's compare that with OLED Motion Pro High at 100 Hertz. OLED Motion Pro High at 100 Hertz, 100 FPS looks like 263 FPS in motion. Now, OLED Motion Pro Medium at 120 FPS, 120 Hertz looks like 240, okay? So 100 looks better in motion with OLED Motion Pro High than 120 with OLED Motion Pro Medium. And on top of that, again, to achieve 120 FPS, you need to lower the fidelity of the game even more. In my case, with my 3080 on this game, I would need to use DLSS in ultra performance, which is not worth it. The image quality suffers, and yes, it looks better in motion, but the static picture quality is not as good, okay? So that's why I never use medium. There is not a single case where I can justify that. So to summarize, OLED Motion Pro Medium only works at 100 and 120 FPS. If I think about using it at 100, the argument is 60 high looks almost as good and it looks significantly brighter. Okay, how much brighter? For example, if I have a full white screen, the difference is 70 nits. So I measure 70 nits with a full white screen when using OLED Motion Pro Medium, and I measure 130 nits with high. Okay, so that's a 60 nits difference. That's a huge difference. Huge difference. That's why you see clipping here. When I go from medium to high, look at the clouds. That's why on the recording, the details, you lose those details because it's brighter than medium, okay? So I cannot consider using medium at 100 just because 60 is brighter and it looks almost as good, and then I can get a higher graphical fidelity on the game. And now 120, the same argument. I much rather use 100 high because it has better motion clarity, okay? And I can get a higher fidelity on my game. That's why I never use medium. Now, it is still an option. If you can get 120 FPS with very high, picture quality, because you have the horsepower. Let's say you have a 4090, you're playing this game with frame generation, you can get a tremendous picture quality at 120 FPS. Then you try OLED Motion Pro High and you're like, oh man, yes, with these settings that I share with you, it looks bright, but you might think, man, if I could get it a little bit brighter so this sunny day looks more impactful, yes, try medium. Okay, the option is there. I love it. Some people even asking me, hey, why not low? Low is super bright, but the problem of low is that it only improves the motion clarity in 1.33x. So that's almost insignificant. So low, OLED Motion Pro Low lowers the persistence to 75%. Okay, so it's left to right, top to bottom, 75% of the picture, and then it scrolls that down and the rest is black. So that's a very small motion clarity improvement, not worth it at all. I've never seen the case for low. I would never use it. And auto, I have to do a dedicated video about auto because it changes. It changes depending if it's a static image or if you're moving. Auto has never been an option better than the rest of the settings. But I will do a separate video about auto again with what I know now. That's it. Let me know your thoughts and opinions if you have any questions. To summarize the motion clarity, low 1.33x motion clarity improvement, medium 2x motion clarity improvement, high 2.6x motion clarity improvement. The brightness difference, high looks brighter at 60, high becomes dimmer at 100 and 120. It is dimmer than 60, okay? Why is dimmer? Why, if the persistence reduction is the same, why is dimmer at 100 and 120? My guess, based on what I know, because it should be the same, based on the tailbone plateau's laws, it should be the same, but it is not, because it is not, the TV is not following the tailbone plateau's law closely, just because it is not a square wave. And also there are some energy considerations, and it seems like when the flash is faster, it seems like the pixels are not able to push as much brightness, okay? Or maybe it was just an engineering decision from the LG engineers to try to push more power and more brightness at 60. And that's why it looks brighter. So OLED Motion Pro High at 60 looks significantly brighter than at 100 and 120, even when the motion clarity improvement is exactly the same. Okay, that's very curious that happens. And the brightness reduction of medium is half the brightness, exactly half the brightness at 100, half the brightness in comparison with sample and hold at 120. And low is 75% of the brightness. So that's the summary. There you go. Let me know your thoughts and opinions and if you have any questions.